What's up, folks? This is Acid Roots. I'm back after taking somewhat of a hiatus this month. I had a sore throat, and it just took a handful of weeks to get over that. So I'm glad that things didn't go a different route, but I'm back to doing reviews. And I've kind of had some interim videos and things like that, but there was something I was going to try to do like a week ago, but I wanted to wait a little bit longer, and that was this mixtape by Lola Monroe called Lipstick and Pistols. So I've listened to this, I've had this downloaded, and it's been on my MP3 player for a couple of years now. But I noticed I liked it more than a little bit, so I figured I'd do a review on it. I don't have too many female rappers that I've done reviews by. I think honestly, like, I've done like a Trina project and maybe a couple other things, but I want to do a few more things like that. So Lola Monroe, she's not the most prevalent musician anymore. The first I ever encountered with her was she used to go by the name Angel Lola Love, and she was eye candy for the magazine Double XL. And later on, years after that, she became a rapper, and she was kind of affiliated with Wiz Khalifa's Taylor Gang, and she popped up on a few of those projects with Chevy Woods, Juicy J, Wiz Khalifa, that sort of stuff. That's where you would have found her in 2012 and 2013. And then she's dropped a handful of mixtapes, but this is basically like one of her most recent ones, and it came out in late 2013. So obviously there's not been much out of her since 2013, which kind of says it's like, well, that's almost 10 years ago. But this is a solid mixtape, and I would have to say, I mean, it's not going to get a perfect score, but out of 15 songs, I feel like, with mixtapes, if you like the single so many times, if you wind up liking songs beyond that, it kind of is an indication that you probably need to download it. Because most people will just put they used to, back in 2011, 2012, they'd put like one hit song that would chart decently on the Billboard, and then the rest of it would be just like lousy or C grade, D grade music that was kind of bunk. But, eventually they started fleshing them out, and they even tried to offer them for retail. But this is such a project. This mixtape is free, and it's worth the investment. So that's just kind of the situation. There were some singles off of this, and that's kind of the situation. I think originally I thought Lola Monroe had the intention of dropping an album. I mean, I don't think she might have been able to get to that, but it just seemed like she never did. So there were a couple singles. There was one called "Don't Wake Me," but that's what Wikipedia says, but I don't see that song on the project. So the two singles that I have found on here are "Dark Red Lipstick" and then "Band Up." So I'll talk about both of those. And so "Band Up" is kind of like the first single, I would almost think, if I had to figure out which one probably was. That's the more kind of lyrical and more, bitch with attitude kind of song. It's kind of laying it down, telling you what it's about. It's kind of about money, but it's a real good song. It's one of the best songs on this project. I didn't have a problem with it. It's not so, I mean, it kind of has sexiness, but it's just more of like a money song, and just more kind of, just like a typical first single from rap back in the day. And it's good. I mean, that's the thing. I liked it. And then "Dark Red Lipstick" kind of steals a little bit from TLC's Scrubs, which I don't really like the Scrubs song, but I do like the variation of that hook that's kind of on "Dark Red Lipstick." It's a little bit slicker, a little bit more glossy. It has more, flavor to it, and that feels like more like a club song, which is kind of something I want to get into, because Lola Monroe knows how to be contemporary. And, when you look at people like Lil Kim, liked money more. She wasn't so much in the club, and if she wasn't single for very long. Nicki Minaj was more pop. Trina was more nasty. And I'm trying to think of some other women, like Foxy Brown was pretty nasty, those type people. But it seems like Lola Monroe actually knows how to go out and have a good time. I mean, from what I remember, she has a pretty big booty, but you pay attention to that sort of thing, she can actually go to a club, get drunk, get crunk, dance around, have some fun, play some loud music, pull up in a nice vehicle, show out, dress nice, all those sorts of things. It just really happens across that atmosphere. And there are songs on this project that indicate such things circa 2014. But that's just kind of the situation. I mean, there are other club songs on here, but it's kind of like a stretch just because I feel like Lola Monroe can actually keep up with other female rappers in terms of her just good, her charisma that she has in terms of doing like contemporary music. But there's not an overabundance of songs like that, but it's at least an angle that she has. It's kind of like Wiz Khalifa and smoking songs, it's just something that goes. And but there are some there's a few that talk about a few complaints. There are some type of songs that don't work that much, like Bossette Mafia intro, Machiavelli, Money on They Head. Some of those she was kind of trying to do a little bit of trap, at least circa 2013. It doesn't really match her that well. She's not that skilled at it. I mean, it's called Lipstick and Pistols, but the Pistols half, it's not so much that it's not believable, it's not as appealing to her personality. And I mean, I do like a bitch with attitude at times, but it's not the. I mean, she's basically trying to be like the female Juicy J, and she just does better when she's more contemporary. And there's other variables towards that. Stompin' Bitches is such a song. If that would have been like a 3-minute song, I would have given that like as another highlight. But it's just a minute and 30 seconds. She just gives like a verse, and it is just real cut short. I don't know why she didn't give more to that song. I mean, that really could have been a highlight. It felt like a club song. It's a little bit more ferocious than Dark Red Lipstick and Around the World and songs like that, but it was simply too short. So I felt like, I don't know where it comes from where I'm just listening to one verse. I mean, there needed to be more to it than that. So I just didn't give it as a highlight. But some of those, she kind of does like a little Eminem type song with like Ain't No Turning Back. That's kind of one of those reflective type songs that Eminem used to do. And she has like some Plush songs with Gorgeous and You Know I Want You. I didn't like You Know I Want You. That was a little bit too fluffy, but Gorgeous was really stylish. I mean, that just felt fancy, like you're laying on the bed at a hotel, you've got some exquisite wine or some exquisite drink, some fancy stuff going on, that sort of stuff. It just felt fancy. And it's the sort of stuff that Iggy Azalea kind of does that she's pretty good at. So that's another angle that Lola Monroe does, but it just isn't seen nearly enough. But yeah, so there's just some good moments. I also kind of feel like there's relationships on here, just as kind of like a flirty angle. Songs like Cheat on You and In the Mood or some other ones. Those are pretty contemporary also. They're not flaccid and bedroom numbers as much as they are just upbeat and kind of, moving around and that sort of stuff. So they're just a lot of this project is very Fast Life-esque, and I like that. And that just happens to be the thing. It has much to do with the fast life. It doesn't slow down that much. There's a couple songs like Fly Away and You Know I Want You, but other than that, for the most part, this is a basically pretty turned up project, and I appreciate it for that because it didn't have to be. So it just kind of happens to be the thing. So, but yeah, so we'll get into talking about the highlights now. So out of 15 songs, I wound up liking 6, and I've already talked about some of these, but I'll list them. So Band Up, Dark Red Lipstick, Gorgeous, Around the World, Cheat on You, and In the Mood. So all of these do extremely well. Gorgeous, I've already talked about being fancy. Around the World is another real slinky song. I mean, that one just sounds like some sort of house party type song, but also it has some fashion taste to it. So a lot of these songs do have taste, and that's a good one. I mean, and another thing to kind of note is the hooks are pretty good. I mean, they're very sing-songy and they're easy to recite and that sort of stuff. So they're sing-songy. Around the World's a good one. Cheat on You has a real nice hook in there, and In the Mood's a pretty syrupy song also. So all of those do well. I mean, you have to understand, I mean, once again, if you don't like the the rough Lola Monroe. It's just more of like she kind of goes between trap and contemporary like Nicki Minaj, but with a more fancy and kind of attitude based kind of thing. So that's just what it is. She's like Nicki Minaj, except she just doesn't go pop. It'd be like hearing Trina without the nasty. So it's like Trina without the nasty, and that just kind of happens to be like the subject matter. So I just would kind of have to say um, that yeah, those are some of the highlights, and it just works. I mean, that's the thing. You just have to pay attention. She's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say that Lola Monroe is like ripping off any other female rapper because she's not taking from Lil Kim, she's not taking from Foxy Brown, she's not taking from Trina, Iggy Azalea, Krayshawn, any of these people. I mean, she is original, but it's just the fact that well, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of the situation. I mean, 6 songs out of 15 on a mixtape is pretty good. It's just the fact that I'm trying to figure out as to why it's not getting a higher score. I mean, you look at some of these, the trap songs I didn't care for that much, and I've said, it just kind of, um, I mean, it just feels like that's not really her style. I mean, it's neat that she can do it, but it's not really like a highlight for her. And I'm trying to think of like some of the other ones like Fly Away and like Wired was a decent song, but I couldn't. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's quite a highlight just because. I mean, it sounds like you're really getting messed up in the song, but it felt like that was EDM, and that was another style that didn't really match up with her that well. So I mean, she does best on like the real plush and kind of luxury type songs. She's a luxury type person. So that was just kind of the thing. Give Me My Money. Some of these just were not. They felt like they were just trying things that didn't quite cross over that well. And there's just a variety of different angles on this project. Some of them feel like if they were on an album, they would be album cuts and probably some of the least popular songs on here. I mean, you can tell kind of the highlights and the ones that you need to go for. I mean, I know everyone's different, but that's kind of what you get is you realize that there are going to be some angles, and if they don't mesh with you, it kind of lessens the value of the project. But it is a solid mixtape. This is the fact that you're getting basically like an album's worth of diet in a mixtape because there's just different things that kind of go along with that. But I knew what I wanted from this mixtape, and there is probably at least maybe 1 or 2 other songs that I might like down the road. But just off the initial, I mean, I've had this mixtape for a couple years now, but off the initial, diagnosis with this project, I would say that's, what I've found for it. So that just kind of happens to be the thing. So I'm going to give this mixtape a 5 out of 10. I will give this mixtape a 5 out of 10. I'll give the social score a 6 just because there were singles and there might have been music videos that got released for it. And I just would kind of have to say, that's extremely good. So that's kind of how that works. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like Lola Monroe is a marketable musician, but it's just the fact I don't know where she went. I mean, she had a child with some rapper. She was kind of affiliated with Wiz Khalifa, but she just vanished, and who knows where she's been. I don't even know if she has like an Instagram or stuff like that. She tried putting out an album in 2014, but it didn't happen. So just know that this is about the most recent thing she's done, and it's extremely solid, but she kind of went poof. So that's about it. It's just kind of like a one-shot thing. As is how you have to take it as, but it is worth downloading and finding yourself, digging through it and finding yourself some gems.